The science of human behavior is interesting because we can get to a point where we can set up our systems that we have a level of reinforcement. And what I mean by that is that we're choosing to engage in a certain response or behavior, be it what I eat, how much I sleep, how I engage on social media, that the consequences of those behaviors continue to go back and get reinforced, so I maintain engaging in them. And I don't have to particularly, in the end, think about why I'm doing this. It becomes part of the environmental settings and the place settings that I have for myself. So I choose to wake up every morning and I go out for my morning run and I feel great afterwards. All right, that feeling of feeling great afterwards because I woke up early, got my morning run done, is going to then be the motivator that continuously gets me up early. So I go on my morning run, I'm going to feel good again. So we have that high level of, that runner's high or dopamine release. And the same thing will happen when you're eating right and you're doing nutrition correctly. You will get into this pattern of behavior and response that becomes the reinforcer for that behavior. And you get to the point where you're not always thinking about what choice I make. You're making that choice because it's been reinforced before and it becomes part of your repertoire of behavioral responding. As a behavior analyst, we don't believe that there's like a little person inside your head chugging along, kind of making decisions for you, or that there's an alternative decision maker there. We believe and we know from science of human behavior and what we see that we can change any behavior. We're in control of it. We just have to set those variables and responses in motion, and it will work to kind of actually silence some of that additional chatter that you might have in your brain to make those right decisions, because we're working in a contingencies of, again, reinforcement or what we term punishment, either the increasing or decreasing of a certain response or behavior that we're doing. Again, having to do with choices over what we eat, how we train, and those types of things. And I've had a lot of my history as a behavior analyst, as a doctor of applied behavior analysis is within, I've worked within special education, with students, with teachers training them. I've worked with school administrators. I've worked with leadership programs and various other settings. And now I'm a ultra marathon coach, and I do this. I give programs, but I work fundamentally on changing behaviors with ultra runners. And it's all about making it simple, quieting down all that additional chatter, all those thoughts and things that are fluttering through your brain at all times, so that I set up this pattern of behavior. It's easy for me to select out what to do, when to do it, because I have all the variables set up and the consequences set up so that they are reinforcing. And then we don't have to worry about selecting out on that level what to do, because we've reprogrammed, so to speak, our brain and the behaviors that we engage in. As a coach, I should be empowering my athlete. And again, going back to science of human behavior, that's what we're doing. We're empowering the individual to be able to learn and set up variables that set up for good responses and behaviors that they continue to do. If I train you and I'm working with you, and then you can't replicate what I've been telling you on race day, then as a coach, I've failed. But if we integrate behavior analysis in the way that we're coaching, and then we can show up on race day and my runner or my athlete on any level can make the right decisions and engage in those appropriate responses, troubleshooting when it's 3 a.m. in the middle of a 100-miler and figuring out, all right, my leg's not broken. Why is there pain? It's a nutrition thing. I've got, what they can do in the moment decisions, or empowering them to, what is controllable, what's uncontrollable, how do I select for the right response in that moment? Those are all things that I want to work towards. And those are things that, athletes should have those tools in their toolbox, not calling their coach in the middle of the night going, holy cow, I don't know. Do I make a right turn or a left turn? Well, we should have practiced that in training, and then it should be carried over, and it should be, I have that tool. I'm practicing that tool on race day. I know how to execute it. And you almost don't have to think about it because you've practiced it. Those variables are set up and you can move forwards. And that's what the beauty here is I can give I can give a runner practice like they would practice going out on a 10-mile run and holding a certain pace. And I can say, all right, so that's what your performance looks like. But what other tools do we have? You got to practice your visualization. You're going to practice self-talk during those practice runs. So then on race day, you immediately, when you see that certain triggers or certain environmental variables, you go right into that response. And it's been reinforced, so you keep doing it, and it helps you to maintain the performance level that you've trained at. So I think that there's a huge difference and a gap between how we train and then what happens on performance day for a lot of, and I'm not talking about elite athletes, I'm talking about like people like myself that are, signing up for local and regional races. Oh, I did all the training. How come it didn't pan out on race day? It's because we didn't put ourselves in situations that mimicked race day, that race day situation, or I wasn't given the right tools to advocate and empower myself to make those decisions during the race.